Good afternoon and welcome. So, let's let loose. That is the title of Apple's event that started at 7 o'clock this morning, and we'll be talking about that on Go for Lunch for May the 7th, 2024. Brought to you by GoFor Technology. I'm Roger Harmon, your host, and we're here to make your technology work for you. It's National Teacher Day, so thank a teacher for all they do, for their dedication to training our younger generation and sometimes our older generation, depending on your educational situation. So here's a little animated graphic that Tim Cook put on X earlier on April 23rd to introduce the Apple Let Loose event. So you can see it's showing some different textures, different brush widths, and ending up with a hand holding an Apple Pencil. So that was the preview of coming attractions. And we'll see what those attractions are right now. So the Let Loose event actually was somewhat short. It was about, I think, about 37 minutes. So that is normally they're running up to almost 2 hours. So it was short and sweet. So it was an iPad event. They introduced a new iPad Air in 11 and 13-inch models, a new iPad Pro also in 11 and 13-inch models, and an Apple Pro or Pencil Pro, they call it. Of course, Tim Cook, the Apple CEO, started everything from the Apple campus, also known as the Spaceship, in Cupertino, California. And he talked briefly about the Apple Vision Pro headset, how companies like Porsche are using it, how a eye doctor is using it, and several other innovations using this new technology. Then we went to John Turnus, Senior Vice President of Hardware Engineering, on a moving train. And he introduced Melody Kuna, Director of iPad Product Development, and she told us about the new iPad Air, which comes in four not very bright colors: blue, purple, starlight, and of course space gray. Hopefully when we see these in person they'll be a little more colorful, but I wouldn't bet on it. So the features of the new iPad Air: it's made of 100% recycled aluminum. It has the M2 chip. It has a 12-megapixel camera mounted in the landscape mode on the camera, so on the wide mode. It features 5G wireless. It will support the new Apple Pencil Pro. You can get up to 1 terabyte of storage. It starts at $256. The camera is a 12-megapixel. And it does have a new Magic Keyboard. It has landscape stereo audio. It's 3 times faster than an iPad with a 12 chip and 50% faster than an iPad Air with an M1 chip. It has a liquid retina display, Wi-Fi 6E, and it retains the same Touch ID on the power button as its predecessor. So then they went right into the iPad Pro. So they said it's the thinnest product Apple has ever made. It's 5.1 millimeters thick, which is 0.2 inches. The 11-inch weighs 0.98 pounds, and the 13-inch weighs 1.28 pounds. So thin and light, and we hope it doesn't bend. So in order to get the brightness that they wanted, they had to invent a tandem OLED. So that is two OLED panels sandwiched together, and that provides the brighter spectacular highlights, deeper true blacks, detail in shadows and low light, and responsive content in motion, as well as extreme brightness, precise contrast, P3 wide color gamut, wide viewing angle, and a optional nano textured glass which cuts down glare. Now, the rumors of late were that it was going to have an M4 chip, and it does. So they skipped completely over the M3, and now this is the first Apple product that features the Apple Silicon M4 chip. The specs on that chip include its faster CPU performance. It's 50% faster than the M2, and it's capable of doing 38 trillion operations per second. Amazing. So here are all the specs. Here's the tandem OLED. There's an engine on the chip to run that new display. Some of the other features are hardware accelerated mesh shading, which is good for animation. And also for animation, and especially in gaming, is a hardware accelerated ray tracing. Another mind-blowing fact here, it has 28 billion transistors. Just boggles the imagination. It has a 10-core central processing unit, a 10-core graphics processing unit, and you can see here how much faster they are than the M2. Let's talk about cameras. So they have one 12-megapixel camera. They took away on the iPad Pro the ultra-wide camera. This is a LiDAR sensor. This is a microphone. And this is the first time a flash has ever been on an iPad. So the flash will be helpful in scanning documents because they're using artificial intelligence to eliminate shadows. If you've tried to scan a document with your iPad or your iPhone, you know that many times there's a pesky shadow. So AI is getting rid of the shadow automatically for you, which is a really nice feature if you do any scanning. So the new iPads have the camera in the landscape position, so when you're on a Zoom call or a FaceTime call, you're not looking off to the side, you're looking straight on to the camera. So another nice feature. Then we have the Apple Pencil Pro. So there's a lot of changes here. So you have a double tap feature. You can roll the barrel of the pencil to widen your brush stroke. You can squeeze the pencil and a menu will appear on the screen, giving you lots of different options. This is really a big thing. A lot of people had problems losing their Apple Pencils. So now the new Apple Pencil Pro has Find My, so you can find it. And then you can see here the different features that are available in the Apple Pencil Pro, including haptic feedback. We're not sure exactly how that's going to work, but all these are open to developers, so different apps will be able to implement these features. So here are the feature roundup of the Pro. Again, 11 or 13 inch, up to 2 terabytes. The nano textured glass anti-glare. Now that is only available on a 1 or 2 terabyte model, and it costs $100. The M4 chip, adaptive true tone flash, LiDAR, which is used in virtual reality, Face ID. Again, the features of the pencil. The screen is now called the Ultra Retina XDR. And, of course, the landscape camera, 5G wireless, a new Magic Keyboard, which we'll talk about shortly, ProMotion for smoother graphics, 4-speaker audio, and Thunderbolt and USB 4. So the iPad Pro 11-inch starts at $999, and the 13-inch starts at $1299. But if you do all the different options, the 13-inch costs, I think, about $37,000 or $3,700, $3,700, something in that area. So it can get very expensive when you add more memory and all the accessories. So the new keyboard has function keys on the top, like you have on your regular keyboard or your MacBook keyboard. And it also features a larger glass trackpad with haptic feedback, so making it much more likely to be a laptop replacement for some people. So the Magic Keyboard for the 11-inch is $299, and for another $50, you can get the Magic Keyboard for the 13-inch model. And it has a USB-C. The tilt here is in 1-degree increments. So again, it's very slim, nicely designed. So you can order those today. Any of those products are available for order today, and they will be shipping next week if you got your order in early enough on May the 15th. So some good news for people that may not need all those features is that the 10th generation iPad price has been reduced to $349 and still available in some vibrant colors. So if you're just using your iPad as a content device and you're not doing any high-end creativity, maybe this is the iPad for you. So like the last event, this was shot on iPhone, edited on a Mac, and this is an interesting little detail, the way they wrote iPad here. The fine print says all presenters, locations, and aerial footage shot on iPhone. So there you have it. It was, again, short, as I mentioned, and to the point. So please put any questions or comments in the comment section on YouTube, and do me a favor and forward the GoFor Gazette, our emailed newsletter that comes out every Monday at 7 a.m. to anybody you know that uses Apple devices, so we can help more people. So let's see what we have here. Who else has joined us? I see that Leslie Ann is just catching up, and her Touch ID never worked, and neither did her pencil on her old iPad. Well, that's too bad. And thank you for the thumbs ups. Don't hesitate to give me a thumbs up. And Leslie Ann says, wowza, $3,700. And Bob wants to know, which one are you buying? Which one should I buy? And Stanley asked this question in email earlier today. So let's talk about that. So what are the big advantages of the new iPad Air? Well, I would say if you thought that you wanted a bigger screen, the 13-inch model might be something that would be good if you use it a lot for watching movies or watching YouTube or even on social media. That extra screen size might be handy. Now, I have heard of a lot of people that bought the 12.9-inch iPads and ended up selling them because they were just too big. So keep that in consideration. A lot of people said if they wanted to lie down in bed and watch it, it was just a little too much to handle. Of course, this one is thinner and not very heavy, so you got to kind of balance those features to decide whether that 13 inches for you. I think for most people, the 10th generation with the new lower price of $349 might be just fine. So the big difference is going to be the display. If you really want to have a nice viewing experience with very smooth video and animation, then the Pro has all of that. So let's see. Leslie says, how much better is the 10th generation from the 8th generation? Well, the display is better. It has a USB-C connector, so that if you have an iPhone 15, as I know you do, then you don't have to worry about lightning connectors anymore. And Chris says he still uses his 9th gen iPad, which works fine. Wish that Duolingo has a full iPhone app and their Photos apps had more tools than their Mac counterparts. And his Touch ID only works for a short time and then has to be redone. So maybe that'll be fixed in iOS 18. So obviously it wasn't fixed in iOS 17. Now, one little tip I did learn on my iPad from 2017, my iPad Pro, I've mentioned this before, but it's worth mentioning, is that when I have it plugged in and charging, the Touch ID doesn't work. So that's one thing to be aware of. And Chris says, intrigued by the AI that may come. So this is something that a lot of commentators are saying. I know on one podcast that I watched, they had a contest of how many times the word AI would be mentioned. And I think they were guessing like 35. I only heard AI mentioned maybe 5 times. I wasn't really keeping a close count, but they did mention AI that many times. That being said, the fact that it has an M4, which is a much faster chip, and it has a neural engine as part of that chip, which is designed to handle AI, and the strong rumors are, and the hints from Apple are, that at the Worldwide Developers Conference, which is June 10th, so almost just about a month away, they're going to be talking about AI. So this new iPad Pro may be ready for AI. Just a foreshadowing. And Susan says, do you think Apple will switch to emphasizing the iPad versus the Macs? No. I think they're going to emphasize each one as a tool that has its place and its functionality. And in their last quarterly report, iPad sales were down, so I'm sure they're hoping that this will prop up their iPad sales, but keep the Mac sales going as well. And so Chris says carrying around a 13-inch iPad would have door jam issues like the 15-inch MacBook Air. That's right. So gotta be careful when you go through those narrow doors. And Leslie Ann says, what's the difference between an iPad regular and an iPad Air? That's a very good question. The display is better, and it's a little faster. So those are the main differences. On the Apple site, actually, we could actually go there. There is a comparison, and I don't think I have it up now. There it is. I still have it up. Amazing. Okay, so here we have, they're using the 13-inch we'll make it more equal here. We'll use the 11-inch M4 and the 11-inch M2 and the 10th generation. Okay, so here are the comparisons. The iPad Pro only comes in 2 colors. The new iPad Air comes in 4 muted colors, and the 10th generation comes in 4 more vibrant colors. So there's the pricing, and so you can see here that the Air and the 10th generation have the same display, and the difference here is it does not have an anti-reflective coating, and of course the only one that has the nano textured display glass is the Pro. So now we go down and we can see the difference in the chips. The cameras are actually all 12 megapixel, and the landscape camera positioning. Now, I'm not sure that's right on the 10.9 inch. I don't know that that's right. I'd have to double check on that. They all have USB-C. Only the Pro has Face ID. The speakers are the same except for 4 speakers on the Pro. The new ones have 6E Wi-Fi. The 10.5 inch only has 6 Wi-Fi. The 10.5 only supports the Apple USB-C pencil. The new ones support the Pro pencil. And the 10.5 only supports the Apple Magic Keyboard Folio. And these two have their own Magic keyboards. So the starting capacity on the 10.5 is only 64. It's 128 on the Air and 256 on the Pro. You can see here the weight is pretty close. 0.98 pounds on the Pro. That's the 11-inch. 1.02 pounds on the Air and 1.05. So hardly any difference on the weight there. So the display is the big difference. You can see the Air and the 10.5 are the same display. And of course you have the Ultra Retina XDR with the tandem OLED. And so you can see here that the brightness is the same. The coating is the same. Then we see a bunch of differences here. The wide color gamut is not available on the 10.5, and you can see here the difference in the chips. They all have up to 10 hours of surfing on the web. And they all have 12 megapixel cameras with the same f-stop at 1.8 aperture, same digital zoom, and the new ones have HDR4. So you can see there's not a lot of differences between the new Air and the 10.5 inch. So you can look at that on Apple's site. I will put that in the comments on the YouTube video. So, and Susan, let's see here. Do we get everybody? So Susan says, does the old Magic keyboard work with the new iPads? No. And Chris says the Pencil Pro seems to have pressure sensitivity, but only by squeezing the pen, not by pushing the point on the screen like the stylus tablets. No, I think it does, actually, Chris. I think it does have pressure sensitivity. And also, you can roll the barrel to adjust the width of the brush. And Susan asks, what's the difference in the new keyboard and the old keyboard? Can you use a new keyboard with a MacBook Pro? Well, it's a Bluetooth keyboard, so yeah, I think you should be able to move it. Use it with a MacBook Pro. The problem would be the the part that holds the iPad might get in the way. And Stanley says the difference between the Magic Keyboard and the virtual keyboard. Well, the difference, of course, is typing on glass as opposed to having tactile keys. And that's a big difference. And plus, the position of the keyboard is more natural than, especially if you have your iPad propped up where you can see it well. Typing on the glass keyboard is much more awkward than typing on a flat surface with the Magic keyboard. And Chris says, be sure to try keyboards at the Apple Store first. A great suggestion. You might find those also at a Best Buy if that's more convenient for you. They should all be in, I would say, on the 15th of May. So always a good idea to try a keyboard in person before you order it. And of course, if you do order it and you don't like it, you have 14 days to return it. So there is that. So great questions. I appreciate all your participation. And Chris says he much prefers the Logitech keyboard for a more tactical response, more tactile response. And yes, I've used Logitech keyboards in the past, and they work well, and they're much less expensive. So check out the Logitech keyboards. You can usually see those at Best Buy. However, they don't usually have them open where you can actually use them. So you would have to maybe subtly take it out of the box and push on those keys and see how you like the feel. But Logitech always works very closely with Apple, and their products seem to work great with iPads. And their other keyboards work with other Mac products too. Good company. Well, if you think of anything that you haven't mentioned today, I'm always available by phone and by email. So you can contact me later, and I'd be glad to follow up. And I hope that you found today's presentation informative, and I'm glad that we were able to get together and have this all assembled on kind of a short turnaround. So have a great rest of your Tuesday, and we'll see you next week on Go for Lunch, high noon.